Hey, it's Halicue, and welcome back to Hey, it's Halicue, the podcast where we, Black women of the 92%, chart a new political path forward, one that prioritizes our rest, reinvestment into ourselves and our communities, and one that cultivates joy and laughter and a deep dedication to our creative and entrepreneurial pursuits. Now, what is the 92%? When we call ourselves the 92%, when we refer to that, what we're referring to is the overwhelming percentage of Black women who, election after election, but most specifically the 2024 presidential election, have consistently voted in favor of democracy and justice. Black women have carried the physical and the emotional burdens of political and social activism very often without the same returns of recompense, rejuvenation, resources, or most importantly, credit that other people receive. But now, Black women in the 92% are shifting that paradigm. Instead of exhausting ourselves for systems that refuse to love us back, we're redirecting that energy into our artistry, our wellness, and our self-determined futures. I'm your host, Halicue, and today we're diving into a subject that has been sitting on my heart very, very, very heavily: creativity as a political strategy for Black women. I know, it's a little different, it's a little outside the box, but rock with me, follow me just for a second. Over the past few weeks, I have been receiving messages, downloads, and just straight up the deep inner knowing that one of the most radical things that Black women can do for ourselves over the next 4 years is return to a state of deep creativity. This can mean indulging in hobbies that make us happy. There are so many women that I see on the internet, particularly over where I spend a lot of time on TikTok and on Substack, looking at, appreciating, observing all of these beautiful Black women that have so many exciting hobbies and creative pursuits. I am watching Black women sing opera, paint, crochet, quilt, write poetry, every different way that there is to be creative and express creativity. I am seeing Black women on the internet do it, and I am 100% here for it. So whether it's that hobby or finally committing to that major creative project that you've been dreaming about, the book, the blog, reactivating your inner Black domestic goddess. Shout out to Megan, Duchess of Sussex, and her new show, and the way it drives her haters absolutely insane. Why is Black women and Black women being creative important? It's important because it is the direct and polar opposite of overwork, overburdening ourselves, constantly carrying the weight of other people's responsibilities. It's the opposite of doing the mule's share of political and equality work that we have done for generations. Right now, this next 4 years, this is our time. It's Black women's time of artistic bloom. So today, I dedicate this episode to all of the artistic Black women and girls who, because of the obligations we've shouldered unnecessarily, have never been able to fulfill or live out their creative vision. That changes right now. I want to get us into the right mindset to unlock inspiration and creativity for Black women of the 92%. This breathwork practice is designed to bring you into your body, to clear mental clutter and open you up to the creative flow. So let's get ready. It's called fire breath. This is where we're going to ignite our creative spark. Fire breath, which is also known as Kapalabhati, is a dynamic breathwork technique that activates the body's energy centers and it clears creative blockages. I want you to think about it as the bellows of a flame, stoking the fire of our beautiful Black inner artistic force. I want you to imagine yourself as something. Think of yourself as something like an ancient griot, maybe a jazz musician lost in the rhythms that they're creating, or maybe a Black girl painter with a fresh, untouched canvas before her. You are the creator, and this breath work is your brushstroke, your first note, your opening movement. And so first, I want you to find a comfortable seat, and I want you to sit with your spine tall. And if you're on the ground, I want your feet planted firmly. I want you to close your eyes and take a deep inhale through your nose, filling your belly, and hold it for 4 counts. Now, I want you to begin what we call fire breath. Fire breath is short, quick exhales through the nose. Every time you exhale, I want you to focus on pulling your navel in with each exhale. And the inhales happen naturally between each one of the exhales. So now we're going to do this for 30 seconds. And each time, I want you to allow the breath to become rhythmic, like the tapping of a drum or the sway of a dancer, like the pulse of a story, your story, that's waiting to be told. Let's begin. That is fire breath. And now that we're done, I want you to feel in your body, take a moment to feel the tingling, creative, fiery energy within you. Feel your inner creativity. There we go. Now let's get into why it's so important in this time for Black women of the 92% to create. For those of you that know me, Toni Morrison is my absolute favorite author of all time. I think that she is the great American author. And side note, I once met Toni Morrison in the library of the Hudson Hotel in New York City. I should have known I was going to be blessed and highly favored when that happened because it was completely random. I'll remember it for the rest of my life. But one of my favorite quotes from Toni Morrison about creativity is this. Toni says that we are being asked to reduce the creativity and complexity of our ordinary lives to cultural slaughter. Our everyday lives may be laced with tragedy, glazed with frustration and want, but they are also capable of fierce resistance to the dehumanization and trivialization that politico-cultural punditry and profit-driven media depend upon. End quote. So Black women, our lives are already works of art. How do we know? Toni Morrison told us so. But we must act to fulfill that creative force. Creativity to us as Black women is our birthright, our lifeline, and our most important tool for revolution. Because when we create, we take up space in a world that often wants to render Black women invisible. Toni also said that your life is already art, just waiting for you to make it art. And so with that, let's go into our first journal prompt. You know, I love for us to have journal prompts. We need ways to process our feelings and our thoughts and our emotions as Black women at the 92%. And for some of us, you know, it's journaling. I love it. And I often say that I don't care how you do it. You can speak your journaling out loud. You can use these journal prompts for your morning pages. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Artist's Way, Dochi, and morning pages a little bit later. But here is our first prompt. What creative act makes you feel the most alive? How can you incorporate more of it into your daily life? That's our first prompt. As we embrace the arrival of spring and the approach of the spring equinox, which is a time and a symbol of rebirth and renewal, it's a really opportune moment for Black women to channel this energy into our creative endeavors. Spring, the season of regeneration, aligns perfectly with our new political strategy, the strategy that emphasizes rest for Black women, self-reinvestment, and the cultivation of joy through artistic expression. Engaging in creative activities not only fosters a sense of flow, but also offers significant mental and physical health benefits. So listen, there's a study that was highlighted by Harvard Health involving over 93,000 participants across 16 countries, and it found that having a hobby is linked to greater happiness, life satisfaction, and a sense of purpose. Also, engaging in creative activities has been associated with reduced depression, isolation, as well as improved mental well-being and cognitive function. And as for our physical well-being as Black women, creative arts therapy has been shown to positively impact physical health, including reductions in stress-related hormones and improvement in immune system functioning. Participating in hobbies that include physical activities like dancing, which you guys know I love, has been linked to reduced stress, lower blood pressure, and a lower heart rate. By embracing our creativity this spring, Black women at the 92% specifically, we are not only honoring the natural cycles of renewal, but we're also investing in holistic well-being and reinforcing our resilience and our strength as a community. And so y'all, for me, especially around creativity, physical movement, hobbies, dancing has always been my favorite form of creative expression. I am a dancer. I study Afro-Brazilian and Afro-Cuban dance. And seriously, just as an aside, I want to invite you to take a class. I want you to get moving. This doesn't have to cost you a single thing. One of the places I love to dance, especially when I'm traveling, is by using YouTube. It's for free. And I love dance because as a little girl, I really wasn't allowed to express myself through my voice, my clothes, or even my hair. Like a lot of us that grew up, especially down South as Black girls, my upbringing was pretty strict. But dance was the one thing that was supported. It was one of the few things that my mom, after divorce, was able to really make sure she provided for me. I don't know if she knows this, but it was one of the most important things she could ever have done for me. As an adult, reclaiming dance. And it took me a while to get back in it because I used to think, y'all get this, I used to actually think that spending time dancing, spending money on going to dance classes, being in the studio after I graduated college was something that I wasn't allowed to do. No one told me that. I just assumed that was the case. I assumed that I'm a married woman. We went right to work, like literally 7 days after graduating college. And so I just didn't think that it was something that I deserved. I thought that dance, taking dance classes, being in community with other women and other women dancers as adults was some kind of indulgence and a waste of money. What a huge mistake. Thank goodness I reclaimed dancing in my late 30s. When I am dancing, I feel like time stands still. And I believe that's not just a feeling. I believe that creativity is literally good for our aging, it's good for our bodies, and it's good for our deep inner spirituality. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our second journal prompt. And this is so important. This one is really important. And I advise you to use it whenever you're wondering what direction your creativity should go next. What is that thing you should indulge in that's going to inspire you creativity? You can always go back to girlhood. You can always go back to childhood. So our journal prompt is this. Think about a childhood creative passion that brought you joy. Specifically, and very importantly, if you weren't allowed to do it, you always dreamed of doing it, you wanted to do it. So what is that childhood creative passion that brought you joy? And I want you to think about and journal about how you can reconnect with it today. Because I promise you can do it today. Y'all know, one of my biggest takeaways from the last election is that there are too many misogynistic, patriarchal, oppressive voices that are dominating social media. And too few Black women are taking up space using our voices. We need to be sharing our expertise and our wisdom online. And let me say this. I love Substack. It has become a home for my thoughts, for my podcasting, my writing, and a way for me to gather around and with my community. I highly encourage you to check it out. If you have been feeling the call to use your beautiful Black woman of the 92% voice, Substack is the perfect place to create without the chaos and the trauma of traditional social media. So I want you to follow me there, subscribe to the podcast, and I want you to start following some of the brilliant Black women creators that I follow on Substack. It is very smart, it is very femme, and it is very Black. And there are wonderful social media aspects. There are notes, there are chats. It's very easy to monetize. Substack is not only the place where you can podcast, where you can write, where you can have your newsletter. You can also create short, long-form videos there. So join me over on Substack. It is the home of the Hey, It's Halicue podcast. I'm building a wonderful community for the 92% there, and I want you to join me there. I've also been inspired by, oh my gosh, the beautiful artist Dochi. I love the way she's sharing her artistic journey. She does morning pages and she does art dates as a way to stay connected to her creativity. She did an entire YouTube series on this. It inspired me to read The Artist's Way, to even start doing my own morning pages every single morning. It's one of the most special and one of the most spiritually grounding parts of my morning. It's one of the reasons I always, in every single podcast, I want to pass that forward to other Black women of the 92%. So use the journal prompts to get into your creativity and start fomenting your own quiet rebellion here on the internet. We need more Black women's voices. And speaking of on the internet and fomenting rebellion and problems, I want you all to know how much I love with love Megan. This is Megan Sussex, Megan, Duchess of Sussex. It's her new lifestyle show on Netflix. I love it for so many reasons. First of all, because it beautifully showcases the Duchess of Sussex embracing the joys of domesticity, not out of necessity, but out of love. I love watching her pour her intention into her home, not because she has to, but because she wants to. And to me, seeing a Black woman do that, and I consider Megan, who is a Black biracial, I consider her absolutely a Black woman. Her mom's Black, so I consider her Black, but it feels revolutionary. Why? Because I'm a Black woman from Southern Mississippi, and I know historically that Black women in the U.S., especially down South, were denied the right to be homemakers, especially in the South, especially during Jim Crow and the Civil Rights era. It was dangerous to be at ease in one's own home. That's what the terrorism of racism and the Klan and things like that were. As long as one white woman was forced to work outside the home. All Black women had to work outside the home. So with her new show, With Love, Megan, she's reclaiming that domestic space with grace, showing that making a home isn't just a labor for Black women. It can be a creative, fulfilling act. It's one of my favorite things to watch on the internet, Black women in their homes, in their kitchen. It's deeply inspiring to me because I was raised to see home duties as just that. Duties, work, tasks to tick off a list to make sure that I was making my single working mother's life as easy as possible. And I always felt a lot of stress, anxiety, and fear related to that. I was very afraid of her anger, my grandmother's anger, if they came home and they did not find the house to their liking. I am deeply inspired by the grace and power with which Meghan holds her head high despite the relentless, and let's just say it, racist attacks from the British media, and through them, her royal in-laws, who are just haters till the very end. The way that Duchess Meghan continues to move with dignity, refusing to be defined by their cruelty, is a testament of strength. And speaking of strength, it is so very Leo coded, the way she just glows and is beautiful and is courageous and is unbothered. But what also moves me more is how she embraces the domestic arts with joy, redefining homemaking as like this space of love and creativity, even down to the little edible flowers that she puts on whatever it is she's making or presenting to her loved ones. Making homes and our domesticity, it's a form of self-expression. And in a world that has long weaponized labor against Black women, forcing us into servitude while denying us the right to simply be in our own homes, Meghan's choice to find pleasure in her home life, to me, feels radical. Reminds me as a Black woman of the 92% that domesticity can be about sovereignty, about creating something beautiful for ourselves, not just for others. Although I do enjoy watching Duchess Meghan entertain her very fabulous friend set. Her example to me fuels the quiet, regenerative revolution of the 92% and Black women who are creating rest, joy, and fulfillment on their own terms. I haven't even seen the show yet. She postponed the release date. It's on, and I can't wait to watch. And me and another woman, she's a British Black woman. I think she calls herself the Champagne Gal. I'm trying to get her to agree to cook one of her recipes together on live. And so also, if there's anybody else on Substack that wants to cook something live with me, I'm really happy to do that. And listen, all of us are going to be pursuing our different creative pursuits over the next 4 years. Obviously, the podcast, the work that I'm doing on Substack and creating community for the 9% is a huge part of that. But just for fun, I am going to be reclaiming and channeling my inner domestic goddess. And I'm going to start transforming my home into my own special art form, a sacred expression of my own creativity, rest, and joy. It's something that I've had a little bit of stress and anxiety and even shame around, again, because I've always thought of things that I do in the home in a lot of ways of work, and that comes directly from my Black Southern girlhood. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to change that and I'm going to transform that. I'm going to be decorating my home and entertaining more starting in the spring. And I'm going to bring y'all along on that journey. And y'all, Audre Lorde said, we must recognize and nurture the creative parts of each other without understanding what will be created. And I plan on fully embracing that. And I want to help the Black women of the 92% embrace that, especially getting started this spring. And so with that, let's move into our third and final journal prompt before I announce something that's going to be a lot of fun for us. And here's our prompt. If you had no fear and the resources to do so, what would you create and put out into the world right now? Get out your pencil, write this down. I want you to start thinking about what you want to create and put into the world, because it's time. We need more. And I want y'all to really consider whatever it is you do, journaling it, videoing it, and putting it on the internet. I'm telling y'all, we need more Black women's voices on the internet. We have got to drown out this misogynistic, patriarchal, oppressive, white supremacist content that is out here. That's one of the reasons we find ourselves in the geopolitical hellscape that we're in right now. I mean that very seriously. Black women, we have an obligation to ourselves and to our communities to create and put our words of wisdom, our art, our subject matter expertise out there and into the world. So that's our third and final journal prompt. And also, I want to announce something that's going to be coming up at the end of this week, beginning of next week. It's called, and I'm calling it the Blooming Brilliance Creativity Challenge. It's for us as Black women at the 90%. Spring is here, and it's time to wake up our collective creativity, Black femme style. Starting next week, I'm launching a 7-day challenge that is designed to get you into flow, to shake off your creative blocks and step fully into your Black girl magic. I want you to expect a lot of daily prompts, creative rituals, movement, joy, and a whole lot of Black femme brilliance. If you are a paid Substack subscriber, you'll get exclusive bonus content and a private community space and a live creativity and activation session to take your artistry even deeper. So listen, beautiful Black women of the 92%, I want you to get ready to create, to bloom, and to shine. I'm going to have more details dropping soon. And if you're interested right now, I want you to go into the comments of the podcast and I want you to drop your favorite Black girl emoji, or I want you to give me your favorite flower emoji. And I want you to put it right down in the chat. It is time for us to get into our creative energy as Black women in community and in our collective consciousness. Big or small, I want you to think about what is that creative project? What is your creative outlet? What is the hobby? I don't care. Just start. Start now and do it scared. Don't be sitting around waiting for the moment when you feel an absolute confidence to do something. Because if I sat around waiting to do that, I would never have launched a podcast. I would never have started my Substack. I would never have started my TikTok account. I would never have started my tarot and astrology business. I would never have done that. I'm one of the most confident women that I know. I am a triple Leo, Sun, Mercury, and Mars. Loyalty and courage, that is who we are. That is what we're made out of. And I still have crises of confidence. They're brief, but I still have them. So I'm telling you right now, as a content creator and one that makes money doing it, do not sit around waiting for the moment when you've bought everything, when your setting looks absolutely perfect, when you have all of the right equipment, the right outfits, the right makeup. That's never going to happen. Do it now. Do it scared. I'm telling you, you can do it. You're going to be shocked at what comes out of it. And think about it this way. It's part of the action you can take as a part of our new political strategy. I'm telling you, creativity, the joy that brings us as Black women, that is a part of what we are doing now as a part of our new political strategy. It is fun. You're going to receive so many benefits from it. Heaven only knows what we as Black women and as a collective are going to build from just our creative hobbies and our pursuits, but it's very, very, very important. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the pillars of our political activism. So think about it that way and let's get going. And I want you to join in on the conversation. If you loved this episode, if you love what we're talking about, if your curiosity is piqued, if your creativity has been, if you feel inspired, I want you to share your creative ideas with me. Tell me about it, so I can share and I can amplify them and get other Black women on board. I may know Black women that are doing what you're doing and may want collaborative opportunities. So let's go, okay? Here on Substack, on YouTube, on TikTok, get in touch with me, share, tell me what you're going to do. Put it out into the universe. When we write something or we say something, that's what the magic is. That's what the intention setting is. So let's go. And I want you to subscribe and stay connected. Hey, even if you don't consider yourself demographically a part of the 92%, one of the easiest things you can do to support Black women is to support our work, support our creativity. I absolutely invite you to become a paid subscriber to the podcast, to my Substack, or even make a one-time gift. By doing that, it's one of the easiest ways to support Black women, support our rest, support our regeneration, and support our creativity and our joy. This podcast is a reminder in the midst of the chaos and this goat rodeo of a presidential administration, our joy, our optimism, our creativity, those things in and of themselves are revolutionary. Power. The world has long demanded our labor, our sacrifice, and our suffering. But this space, this moment, is about something entirely different. It's about deepening our human dimension as Black women. It's about embracing the fullness of who we are by giving ourselves permission to prioritize our well-being and our creativity and our joy first. So, all the love in my heart to the beautiful, the bold, the brilliant Black women of the 92%, and to those that support us. And to everyone else, I want you to have the day you voted for. This is Halicue with Hey, it's Halicue. And until next week, see you then.